I'm going to start by way of introduction here with Charlie. I do have a lot here on this introduction. There's a lot to Charlie, so we'll see how we can do here. But let me get through some of this, and then I'll bring it over to you, Charlie. I appreciate you jumping on here and having this interview with me.
Good to be here.
Okay, hang in there. This is going to be a wild ride. So, Charlie, former U.S. head of cyber resilience for ITIL, a charter member of the Presidential Policy Directive 21 Working Group for Cybersecurity and Critical Infrastructure Sectors, which I think that's just an area that is near and dear to me from a telecom, pipelines, water supply. It's just a very fascinating area from a cybersecurity and resilience standpoint. You also led federal team to provide solutions for maintenance, repair, and operations, including supply chain logistics across infrastructure sectors with many federal agencies. And I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to insert. I think NASA was one of those, and I'm a space geek, so I'm going to jump in there and put that in. And I think you were on the space shuttle program as well, and that must have been really cool. I remember watching when I lived in Florida. I went to the garage and I watched the crawler crawl out with the space shuttle. It's a personal spot for me, so I wanted to jump in there and put that in.
Try to get into this crawler. It's awesome to get into the crawler.
I can only imagine. I would love to have that experience. That would be a bucket list thing for me as well. But and then beyond that, you also have experience. You in the background led cyber and data protection consulting to the small business development centers, over 4,000 business consultants supporting a lot of the nation's supply chains. So in this introduction, there's a lot of cyber resilient supply chain nationally on our US level, which I think is just amazing to do that. I know you have a lot of experience in the commercial side as it ties to these supply chains as well. So everybody, welcome, Charlie. Charlie, do you have anything else to add there?
No, I think that's good. There's probably more that we'll discover during the interview.
Yeah, I think we'll pull some other stuff out because I know there's more in your background, so I'm going to try and pull some more of that out of there. I know you might be holding back on some of that.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Earlier this year, I was asked by a friend to take a look at ServiceNow's training with the integrated risk management and GRC training. And during that training, I had a real wake-up call in that when I was the U.S. head of cyber resilience for Axos, who owned the intellectual property of ITIL, I always had this dream of IT service management connecting with cybersecurity, and noticed a big disconnect. As I was taking that training for integrated risk management of all risks, I was seeing that this value, I was really understating the value of the IT service groups to underpin all risks. So it was really exciting to see that because we're just seeing a problem within the federal government and in the private sector of organizations struggling to manage all risks. So it was really exciting to see that in there. And so what I'm seeing is a real necessity to address the communications between operations and the C-level or other people above them that are funding activities, that the operations people are having difficulty communicating what they're doing, the value of what they're doing to the C-level. Because each one, if you're looking at each one of these risks, they're all kind of communicating it differently up. So there's a lot of confusion. If you're looking down at that, there's just a lot of hands being raised, and it's hard to get through that and make informed decisions. So having a platform like ServiceNow that has all that integration, that you can have a common platform to manage all the risks, so that then the individual stakeholders for each risk or the subject matter experts have an easier way to communicate that value back up so they can make informed decisions is just super important.
Yeah, I think that's a huge point to make, and I'm sure you've seen it across all these organizations that you worked with in the federal government, right? They're all their own separate entities there, and may have different way of reporting data or different ways of rolling it up. but eventually they're all going to be asking the same budget, right? And they're all going to be
Yeah, yeah.
raising their hand for money to be directed towards their initiatives. So having that kind of commonality, I think, is and consistency is really key, and that goes across sectors, not just government, right? That goes across all
Oh,
of
yeah.
the
Oh, absolutely.
enterprises, et
Yep.
cetera. So
There's real evidence, Kevin, as after I did this discovery, I started looking at SEC filings for major corporations where they have a 10K statement that's due every year. And within that, there's a 1A section that's around cyber or risk factors. And
right.
if you take a look at, I was looking at all these organizations and all the ones that you think have their acts together. And if you take a look at their statements, you can see that there's a real inconsistency in the way they're managing risks. There's lack of continuity around the way that they're managing risks. So there's a real opportunity with the ServiceNow platform, with that consistency, to drive efficiencies and be more effective. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great point. And I like the word continuity in there, right?
Yeah.
A
Right.
lot of times we talk about business continuity, but really it's continuity across, across a common platform, and how everyone's reporting on that, and having the similarities, so that people can make they can make decisions, right? They can make informed decisions, not just raising your hand asking for some money, but why do you need it? What's it going to do for me? And if I spend this, what am I going to protect myself from, or what am I going to get on the backside from the ROI?
Exactly. Yep.
Great, great. Okay, Charlie, the next piece. You have an interesting personal life, and I'm sure that ties into a lot of your success in business, in your workings with the government. I did a little bit of research, a little deeper research than I've done to date. And a triathlon coach, swim master, and also a very interesting topic, which I hope you touch on, is a swim from Alcatraz to San Francisco. And I think I saw some first out there on that. So yes, very, very interesting background. I also think I saw some things around very competitive sports, and I'll just leave it at that. That you're very competitive in, and winning a lot of a lot of them. So let's get into some of that. Let's get into some of how all of that personal competition, the drive that you have there, and how that kind of tied back into all of your interactions with the government, with different businesses, et cetera.
Well, good. Yeah, good. So, yes, I've been a coach for years and been on national coaches committees for U.S. Masters Swimming. And I have a definition of competition. It's come together to seek improvement. So when we come together and do things, work together, we naturally improve. But when we come together with the attitude of seeking improvement, then we really make progress. So that's my definition of competition: not beat the crap out of somebody, but really work together and and get things done. So if you come to a workout or whatever it is, just doing a workout, you're going to do all right. But if you come with the attitude of improving each time, that you're going to do really well. And I have 9 world records in swimming, which are a lot of fun. But my favorite thing was my escape from Alcatraz, being the first person to swim from Alcatraz to San Francisco without a wetsuit, swimming butterfly, and that was just a few years ago. It's a lot of fun, and I relate to it because. And anything that we see, we think is going to be very difficult. We do have to go into preparation for that. So I did a lot of preparation, tying myself off to trees up in streams and in the Shenandoahs and cold water to be prepared for the cold water. But there's a lot of preparation for that. But as we're doing this, as I was swimming to San Francisco, I think you also, as we're working, we need to enjoy the company of others. We need to enjoy what we're working on and just be enjoying the trip. And so there's no better view of San Francisco, Golden Gate Bridge, Angel Island, Treasure Island, than swim butterfly towards it. It's just awesome. And one of my best friends says, just don't use cold in the sentence when you're doing that. So as we're looking at other things, just don't key on the negative things. We need to really work on positive solutions and not focus on the problem itself. Just being enthralled with the problem. We can do a lot of talking, but we really need to get stuff done. So it's really exciting. So these days, I'm just playing a lot of pickleball competitively and disc golf. Won a tournament a couple of weeks ago, which was a lot of fun. And over the vacation, I'm planning on going to Tennessee for 5 days to support Samaritan's Purse's effort to clean up after the tornadoes that they had a few like last month. So really excited about those things.
That's great, and that's commendable to spend your personal time doing that. I know that there's a lot of need for that, especially in that area. So that's fantastic. It's I'm glad you dropped that in there. I think that it's a very personable moment there, and I think a lot of people can relate to that too, right? People across the nation are dealing with different things, and catastrophes like that happen. Unfortunately, are happening more and more these days. So thank you for that. I'm going to extend a thank you from on behalf of the residents of Tennessee for that, and for all of us who aren't going. Definitely, I appreciate your help there. I'm also just impressed with the activeness that you have in the personal life as well, and how you can eloquently translate that into the business side, right? I think the one thing you pulled out there was come together to better yourself, right? So it's not necessarily a competition. It's more of, hey, we're competing, yes, but what we're really doing is driving each other to be our best selves, right?
That's right. Yep.
And I think that applies in the business world a lot, even internally in your own organization, but also externally. I think there's a place where even competitors can come together in committees, councils, what have you, and it just drives everyone to be their best self. So
There's so much to do, Kevin. If you, there's so much to do. Yep, you're absolutely right.
yeah, so I love that tie back.
Thank you.
Okay, Charlie, I need to ask you about something because I think we were in the same place at the same time and we didn't even know it. Knowledge 23. So for folks who don't know what Knowledge 23 is, it is ServiceNow's global annual conference. And it's typically held in Vegas because it's pretty much the only place that can hold that many people. I think there were over 15,000 people this year. And it's everybody from all backgrounds, business backgrounds, government backgrounds. It's a global conference, so you have people there from all over the world. It's really an amazing time, and this was a year that we finally all got to get back together in one place, and really absorb the energy of that many people. I had a great time going. I was able to touch base with a lot of clients. I was able to touch base with a lot of the ServiceNow people, a lot of other partners. It's just a really exciting event, and the energy is just palpable as even before you walk into the expo floor or any of the seminars. You can just feel the energy and the excitement. And you get to talk to a lot of people. I got to talk to a lot of people to bounce a lot of ideas off of. I could validate some things I was seeing. I could ask opinions, and everyone just loved having the conversations. Everyone just loved being there, talking about how ServiceNow could help solve a lot of the problems of all these business users and government users that were coming there looking for solutions. So I know you were there as well. I'm kind of curious to hear your experience and what you got out of it. So let's dive into that a little bit.
Well, I think you hit it. The energy there was incredible. I've been to a lot of users groups meetings, and I've actually chaired international user group meetings for other products. And I don't think I've ever been to a users group meeting where everybody was just so excited and conversational. I don't know if it was because of COVID, but I think it was because that these people are very passionate about doing things. So it was really easy to get access to people, very high level people in organizations, and people that are just out there trying to get through things in a day, operational kind of people. So there's really wide variety of people. And ServiceNow, it's awesome that they get their product people, their sales people, and their service people available to you. It's just so. And I had a difficult time just because I couldn't sleep. I just was getting there earlier each day and leaving later each day because it was just constant conversations and passionate conversations about things. And it was one of the places where it was real easy to validate what I was talking about a little bit earlier, this communications from operations through.
Right.
And as Kevin, you and I both talked about the portfolio, the GRC and risk portfolio, the 9 elements in that ServiceNow have identified. And it was really valuable to have the conversations with these people to just kind of verify where they are and having where they're talking about difficulties and communicating information up to authorities so that they can get their programs funded or to get resources available to them. And so we're seeing this value of the underpinning of IT service management, that consistent, the consistency that you were talking about earlier, continuity associated with all these activities, and how valuable that will be to an organization that's made these commitments already. So we're talking about companies that have made and governments that have made commitments to ServiceNow, and as we take a look at the risk portfolio, that's where a lot of that benefit is going to come from, as they think they're maybe starting this off just to do work order requirements or other things, but all that stuff lays the foundation for a good risk management, portfolio management of the risk. So it's exciting to see that. And yeah, so the other thing, it was pretty obvious that as we're looking at some things getting in the way, that people were talking about the fact that they were using all kinds of applications, or they're kind of retreating from using different applications to do things that are now found in ServiceNow, so that the training aspect of this is going to be much more easy for them to go through. As we're looking at people out in the field trying to do their job, and they have to get training for this, that, and the other thing, where there's inconsistencies and because they're having different applications to do different things, it's difficult. So as we have the continuity is associated with the user interface, it's going to be much easier to get through to train these people, so that the work that they're doing is addressed in the training that they're getting, right?
Right. Yeah, there's two key. I pulled out two key pieces of that. One going back to the conference and the access to people, right? I don't think there's anywhere that I've run into in my career where you have the level of access that you do when you're at ServiceNow's Knowledge Conference. Knowledge, access to product managers and people who are actually building these products and doing the work from the ServiceNow application
To give
side.
them input. Yep.
Yes, and give them input, and they're listening, right? They want that. That's why they're there. That's why they've made the investment to actually go there themselves. And then also the access to the leaders in different organizations, different government organizations, customer organizations, and access to the leaders there as well. Everyone's looking for the same things, right? They're looking for answers. They're looking for maximizing their investment on that, and the access that you have to all of that is just it's unprecedented for a lot of conferences that I've been to. And I think that's a key point, and pull that out. The other piece was too, as you just mentioned, the continuity of the platform, right? So I think this is overlooked in a lot of areas where there's a piece of that where if you can manage all these things, if you can manage your risk posture, you can manage your compliance structure, everything across a common platform, which also can help you manage other things in your organization. Obviously, ServiceNow can do a lot more, and organizations are probably already using ServiceNow for something else. So their users are used to that interface. They're used to how to navigate around it. I think that one thing that's overlooked is the amount of time it takes someone to learn a new application and get comfortable in it enough that they get the efficiency out of it. So rather than introduce something new, just go with something they're already familiar with, have some training around that, and the adoption can be a lot quicker. I think that's another key piece that gets pulled out there.
Yeah. So this whole thing is, but the operations trying to communicate that information up. They've got a responsibility to include like the likelihoods of some kind of a risk happening, the impact of it, and the proposed solutions in a way that the C-level can recognize and be able to fund. I've had discussions at a very high level in the government and in the private sector with the high level people that are trying to fund programs. They have so much. It's so difficult for them to understand what they're funding. Sometimes they're doing so many things, and so this common platform makes it easier for that information to go up, so they can make informed decisions and identify where these likelihoods attach to what assets that they're being threatened, and all the things that are inside the ServiceNow platform. It's really exciting, actually. Yes.
Right, exactly. So I think that's and of course, I'm a ServiceNow enthusiast myself, but I can echo all of those statements. I think it's a really powerful. I think it does, when implemented correctly, and used and leveraged appropriately, I think it's incredibly powerful and quick and to get answers out of. I think that's one of the biggest things, is that the speed at which things move today. You need to be able to get those informed decisions quickly, not just get them, right? And having that common platform really adds to that. And so I'm a huge proponent of that. So I like hearing you echo that as well. Okay. So we've kind of gone through a lead up until today, current day. So looking back through all of this and all the things that we've discussed so far, the involvement with all the organizations you had at the government, right, and the resilience and the infrastructure and continuity there, and then everything that you were able to validate, acknowledge, and look at and understand that yes, truly the real problem is not necessarily finding a tool to do the work. That's almost the end product, but it's really okay, what do we need to report up? What do I need to be able to see to my C and board level to get the investment to protect my organization, to make sure I'm resilient, to make sure I'm good to go in any kind of attack, whether that's cyber or environmental or however you want to look at an attack, right? Or anything that causes a disruption. So looking at all of that, right? Fusion 3, we deal with and we focus in on the GRC aspects, the integrated risk management aspects, the policy and compliance for first, the business continuity and disaster recovery. If it comes to that, hopefully not too many times, but if it comes to that, we focus in on that. So with your background and everything that you were able to validate knowledge, that led you to us. So I'd like to hear kind of a point blank question. Why us? Why Fusion 3?
Well, Kevin, yeah. So after that knowledge event, I had all kinds of, I was really excited, and I was attending a ServiceNow risk management webinar. There you were on there asking questions that I wanted to ask, and I'm just really impressed by the questions that you were asking. So we started chatting in the chat box there and got to know each other a little bit. We hooked up on LinkedIn, and then I did a little bit more investigation of who Fusion 3 was or is, and found out that you're one of the focus partners, the premier partners for risk management on the out of the 2,000 that ServiceNow has. So this was actually validated a little bit later when I found out that Fusion was selected out of 2,000 business partners. They selected 10 partners to be at their first annual risk management summit that was being held at their headquarters, and Fusion was one of those 10, along with these other giants. And it was really exciting to see that. That meant a lot to me, because I think there's a lot that us small businesses can do to help these efforts in large organizations and not get in the way of the big people. But as we do things, we can actually clear the path for some of these larger organizations that are taking the heavier lifts. It's really exciting. It was just really, you as a premier partner just made that for me. So I was excited that you offered me a job, and
Yeah, I think it's great. I think the webinar, I'm on so many webinars.
right.
But I do remember that. I remember because we were asking some harder questions, and really kind of trying to drive the conversation to where I think a lot of people needed to go. And we were thinking a lot alike, and it was almost finishing each other's sentence at that point. So I do remember that webinar, and thanks for bringing that back up. Also, the Accelerate conference that you referenced, the risk management, it was put on by the Risk BU at ServiceNow, and that was just a great environment where, as focused as we are in the risk space, and especially risk as it applies to on the ServiceNow application, to have an event that was one dedicated to that, but two, to be selected to be one of the 10 partners that were there, that were represented as one of their preferred risk partners. It was great. And you're right, there were some giants in that room. There were giants sitting right next to us, as a matter of fact, and you can imagine some of those giants, they have leather acronyms in them. But that was a great event, and again, that was validation of where we are, our brand with inside ServiceNow, and our brand, hopefully our brand out there, in the world. Yeah, so it was exciting to see how kind of the tumblers fell into place, if you will, about how you ended up, coming to Fusion 3. And I appreciate your feedback on the webinar and about my questions, because I'm always curious of what people think of my questions on some of those webinars, but that was some good justification. Okay, Charlie. I'm just going to throw a kind of a wide, excuse me, a wide open question here at the end here. So, what's next, right? So, and I'll give you a little bit to lead you in. What's next for you here with us at Fusion 3? What do you see that Fusion 3 can bring, coming into 2024? Just what's next, and take it as you see it, and let's hear from you.
Thank you, Kevin. Well, I'm really enjoying being here with the team at Fusion 3 as we're engaging with the Fortune companies and with the government. And what I've seen is that there's a real fast pace going out there with a lot of the practitioners, and they're so eager to say yes to projects and to get the projects. And I have an experience that I'd like to share with NASA, where I was competing against all the major ERP companies for a solution to maintenance, repair, and operation and logistics solution for a major NASA program. And we won the contract because we were the only ones. Well, we had a better solution personally, but we said no, that we couldn't do it. And they just said, "Boy, we want you." And I said, "Well, we can't do it the way that you're soliciting." And they would say, "Well, the other people said they could do it." And I said, "Well, that's interesting. If they're going to be successful by July, you need to have this done. Can you get that done by July?" And they would say, "Nope, can't get that done by next July." And so, okay, so what's going to happen in July and that with other solutions? And it gets really interesting really quick, right? And so what we did, and this is I'm having conversations with you and Melissa and the rest of the team on this. We have to be really careful with our clients. We have to understand where they're going, and we have to have the ability to say no in cases like that. So that no isn't we can't do it. No means that we need to think about how we're going to move forward. So what we need to do is figure out ways to set successful milestones as we move forward in a direction that the client wants to move. And as we're moving and hitting these milestones, we're gathering confidence in the stakeholders. That's really critical because we just told them we couldn't do what they wanted to do. We have to get back in and establish these metrics that we can hit, and we know we can hit, and we're in partnership with the client to hit. And there has to be value at every one of those steps. So if we stop at any one of those steps, everything has had value at that point, and there's benefit. And so I think that's how we need to approach this whole effort, where we're looking at all risk management. There are a lot of things that can get in the way of total risk management, and we have to be able to tell clients and guide them in ways that they can actually get things done. The ServiceNow platform is going to make that a lot easier because the information is going to be all there for them in their system. So that's going to make it a lot easier for them to understand where they are in the process, where they need to have improvements in their processes, and what information is missing, what information that they have and they feel really confident in, so they can make those decisions. So I'm really excited to move forward with you, and because we're getting a great feedback from the people that we're talking with that really need this help.
Yeah, I think it's really great the way that you put that too, because I think it's important. It's not a no, we can't. It's a no, we can't do it that way, and here's why, right? And it's almost saying no to get a yes, really is what it comes down to, because the being able to point out why something can't be done, and showing that true understanding of the organization, right? Saying, hey, we know you can't get this done by this date, and this is why. That is very valuable to people, right? They respect that. And I think the honesty, I think, is also respected. So I think we see that a lot with a lot of our implementations, and a lot of our customers are repeat customers, and I attribute that to the fact that, one, we deliver, right? We deliver on what we say. We say what we do, and we do what we say. But also the relationship that we establish during these projects, and asking those questions and pointing those things out and saying, hey, we're seeing this roadblock that's going to be coming down the road in this project, and it's not necessarily due to our project. It's just part of the organization. It's something, in your own internal processes. And when they see that, they really know that we understand their business, and that puts a real tight collaboration together, right? And that's where people want to keep coming back and doing business with you. So I think that's a really good point of, there's a lot of organizations that want to go to the end result quickly, right? And they just want the end result. I need to check this checkbox. I need to move on because I need to do my next initiative and so on and so forth. And yes, we all understand the pace that we need to get there, but let's pause for a minute. Let's stop talking about the end result. Let's stop talking about, this is what the product's going to look like. Let's come back to where we really are today, right? What can we really get done and show that incremental, right? Not just get to the 100% end result, but let's get to 20%. Where are we going to get to 30%, 40%, and take those wins along the way. And then you have a much more successful implementation, right? And kind of guide that path. And I think it's well received. I think that a lot of people feel that way as well. I think it's a refreshing outlook. I think that there's a lot of times where people say, yes, we can do that and we can get you there by that date, no problem. They get it, and all of a sudden it's either change order central or they really can't do it, but they wanted to get the business in, right? So it's a more of a consultative no than it is just a blanket yes, we can do it, no problem, right? People don't necessarily want to hear that. They want to know that you can get it done.
Well, I think there's clients that we might not want because they don't get that.
That's and also, there might be clients and customers that don't want us because of our approach, and
Yep.
totally understandable, right? I think
Yep.
that there's that mix out there, and we get that, and that's how we're doing business, and I think that's been successful for us, and in the repeat aspect of our business, and people coming back for more and more projects. So
Well, it
yeah.
is obvious an interaction between the team that's where your head is. I get more and more excited every day as we meet as teams to discuss how we're working with clients. It's great.
That's great. That's great feedback. And it's nice to hear that from a relatively outside perspective. You only been with us for a short while, so it's kind of an outside perspective. But it's great to hear that and have that validated, because that's really what we're trying to build here, and the kind of brand we're trying to build around this organization. So yeah, Charlie, I got to thank you for your time here. This has been great. You and I have had other conversations, and we alluded to the fact that we've had conversations even before you came to Fusion3 over webinars and whatnot. But this was great. This is a great interaction. So learned some new things, both business and personal. So I appreciate you sharing a lot of that stuff.
Well, thank you. It's awesome to be here. Happy New Year's and
Yeah.
holidays.
Yeah, since we're doing this through the holidays, happy holidays to everybody. Happy New Year. And yeah, we'll look forward to 2024, and maybe Charlie and I will be back and we'll be talking about some other topics.
Here we will be.